Everybody, Pandy, I'm playing World of Tanks. Last night I was trying to do everything and make the video, but I just didn't have the oomph or the motivation or the pandyism or the tankism in me at the time. So I'm trying now this morning super early. It's like 8 o'clock in the morning right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this another whirl. As far as I can tell, I'm really back on track, or I'm really off track, as you guys can probably see. The reason why I'm late, not really on track 100%, but I have no idea what I just said, but hell, I'm just going to go ahead and get this done. Now this little video is going to be about the famous IS-7. Yes! Pandy's finally doing his first tier 10 tank ever. A little bit about this tank. In 1945, the work began on what is known as the Object 260, or the IS-7. IS-7 will be different from most machines developed during the war. The housing of the tank is going to be on a very large inclined angle armor plate setup, a lot like the IS-3. At the time in 1945, only a wooden life-size model was actually put together and produced. Between 1945 and 1946, what is known as the Object 260 for some reason went under sea trials. This is kind of weird because within the Soviet system of systems, this is the black hole of holes, purely because it said it went on sea trials, but this is a motherfucking tank. How does a tank go on to sea trials? I don't know. I guess the theory is when it's secret and they know everyone else knows that you're doing it, let's go ahead and lie. I have the same theory of women. The big difference is Soviets did a much better job at hiding their results compared to me. In 1947, the IS-7 was going to use tracks with rubber metallic hinges, hydraulics, and also road wheels that actually use internal shock absorbers or double acting shock absorbers, all first within the Soviet domestic tank production field. At the same time, the 130mm S-26 had a new muzzle brake and was tested at a high rate of fire. A high rate of fire being considered 8 rounds a minute for a 130mm main gun. This is all to be installed within the IS-7. In the summer of 1948, the first 4 IS-7s were produced after factory tests passed state requirements. The armor protection was later tested in regards to just being shot at, I guess you can say, and it was found that it was nearly invincible. The tank not only withstood shots from the 128mm main gun from the German armaments, but also its own 130mm. At the time, the IS-7 was the biggest and best tank that the Soviets ever produced. There was no equal in the world in regards to combat performance, and the IS-7 had superior armor firepower. However, it was never mass-produced, primarily due to its weight. The Soviets' doctrine in regards to breakthrough tanks was more related to fast movement and having it followed up by medium tanks, and the IS-7 was simply outside of that league. Along with that, the material required to build said tank was going to be extremely expensive, and also it was reported that there was very harsh fighting compartments, or very complex, and when the Soviets say that compartments were bad for the soldiers, you know it's bad because they don't not give a fuck about their soldiers. Well, they kind of give a fuck, but not really. And where are the tanks? IS-7 is pretty damn good, but it's not exactly my most favorite tier 10 heavy tank. The firepower on this tier 10 can't really be compared to most of the other guns, unless you're really comparing it to the Moss. I do have a basic idea of what the rate of fire on the Moss is and what kind of damage it does, but I cannot say that it is better or worse. We'll say that the 130mm main gun in one of the tanks can have trouble penetrating the frontal of the E100 and the Moss. But as long as you find those weak spots with the regular old AP rounds, it isn't all that hard. It's just difficult. Tier 9s and 8s tend to run away as fast as they can, as far as they can muster after you slam one of these rounds into them. There's no doubt about that. When it comes down to it, the 130 is a workaround or all-round beating machine. When it comes down to it, it simply is, it has an average rate of fire compared to the rest of them, does moderate damage, and when I mean moderate, between 5 to 600 damage, sometimes in the low 400s. It's just you gotta be unlucky. Overall, I really do like the gun. It comes from the IS-4, and it is just a bitch slap master, man. It's good. It's a good gun, just not perfect. The armor on the IS-7 is simply something to be at awe at. It has a very small and angular weak spot, making it very hard for even tier 9 guns to penetrate. The 7.0 patch really buffed the armor up, and now it's very comparable in regards to protection to the Moss. And when I mean protection, I really do mean just being able to withstand hits. It doesn't have nothing on the Moss, but it just simply allows you to take on Mosses without having to be threatened by its gun. I mean, simply it does great against any gun out there that has less than 200 millimeters of penetration. Allows you to take the fight to the enemy without having to snipe at range. I've simply deflected a lot of rounds and a lot more since this like patch thing gone through. And honestly, that dome-shaped turret really puts a number on those guns, because that's the majority of your tank. Yeah, your hull makes up about half of it, but if you're sniping, you have no choice but to shoot at the whole tank. The turret is awesome because that's where most people will deflect off of. So I mean, in the long run, as long as you go down into a hull down position, I've deflected plenty of rounds from tank killers, and Yag Panthers, and Yag Tigers, and objects, and you know, HE rounds is pretty much your solution if you're fighting an IS-7 from a hull down position, and it's most likely gonna bounce. No mobility on this tank till the French tanks come out on January 5th. Rumor alert, January 5th. I do not know or confirm. It's currently the best out of all the tier 10 tanks out there as of right now. Think Clan Wars. This is a shock tank. It can get the A to B with a heavy hitting gun simply in good time. And this allows flexibility that is never going to be seen until the French tanks come out. In the long run, it does take a little bit for you to turn your frontal towards the enemy if you compare it to medium tanks. But when it really overall performance in regards to mobility, it is a better performing vehicle than all the other tier 10s. Actually, the T30 might have the IS-7 up one in regards to facing your frontal to the enemy, but all we know is the T30's frontal armor sucks nuts, so it's simply useless. You just might get lucky if you're going up against someone like a Chaffee or something. Overall, the IS-7 is an extremely well-rounded and balanced heavy tank within a world of tanks. It's not the greatest in armor or firepower if you compare it to like the E100 or the Moss, but the mobility does sure makes up for the lacking of these two things and allows the IS-7 to be the primarily favored tank within World of Tanks Clan Wars. The E100 and Moss are also featured as very important tanks, but the IS-7's missions within those type of battles are simply more important. It can actually get to places and inflict damage on the enemy by exploiting his weaknesses very effectively. I would say the IS-7 is the medium tank of the tier 10 heavies in a fashion that they are used and actually performs. I would recommend this beast to anyone who has a thing for medium tanks, especially me. I get a hard on whenever I play the E50 on a daily basis. So if you really like medium tanks, you would like the IS-7. The IS-7 is a heavy tank with wheels and some kick. Now I get to that part of the video where you can get a chance to win some World of Tanks gold. I'll be giving away another $20 ultimate game card with 2,000 points on Playspan. To win said card, you must be A, be subscribed to my channel, and B, post a comment down below, maybe about the video question, which heavy tank is the best for its tier. If I had to throw down my opinion, the E75. Tier 9 bad boy, good armor, firepower, and decent mobility all around. It is one sexy beast and it makes other tier 9 heavy scream for uncle and mommy. I mean, I love the E75, and since I did the video and continue playing it, I've kept it even since I got my E100. I love this thing, man. It just takes names, eat bubble gum, and chew bubble. Yeah, I'm not even going to try anymore. It's too early in the morning trying to be excited, and I've tried. And it's just 5 cups of coffee later, and as soon as I fucking down this bitch, I am on the microphone doing my thing. So hopefully you guys take it easy. I am Pandy, and good hunting.